Hey, what is up mortals, it's Edward Sailor here, and before we get into today's video, there is something I'd like to say. I'd like to let you all know that we have a merch store. Some of the items in it are only available for a limited amount of time, so if you're interested, go into the description and check it out. Each purchase helps us make more content. Secondly, if this video hits 300 likes by the end of the week, we will continue this what if. Thirdly, if you didn't know, only 41.3% of you guys are subscribed to us. So please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the story. Mortified, Izuku yells at Todoroki, What is that notebook? While Izuku did take a lot of notes on people, he would never write about ideas on how to kill someone. Todoroki stops walking and just turns around while giving Izuku a blank stare. They're just notes. Calm down, Midoriya. Todoroki mutters as he walks off with Izuku just standing there in shock. Something felt off to Izuku about him. He had this strange darkness around him, which was hard to describe. But Izuku didn't know what to do, he just stood there. Back with Shigaraki. He was having a talk with Stain about getting the lowest result on the test. He wasn't going to get expelled, however. Stain saw potential in him as a hero, and it wasn't really fair on him anyway, since his quirk doesn't boost any of his physical abilities. With him done talking with Shigaraki, Stain would go on to talk fanatically about their drive to become heroes, saying he sees the drive in all of them and there would be no need to expel anyone. Then he gave all the students a syllabus for the school year and let them go home, saying to prepare themselves for tomorrow. Uraraka would still meet up with Izuku as he was leaving, but Shigaraki would replace Ida in this scene. At first, Shigaraki would find Uraraka a bit annoying, but while walking with her, he would come to find she wasn't as bad as he thought. The next day would be hectic to say the least. Before hero training, both One For All and Stain walk into the classroom with all the students staring at One For All. Hey, it's really all for one! Kurashima yells out happily with Stain telling him to be quiet while in the presence of the number one hero. Then he explained how they were going to conduct a special type of training which would call combat rescue training. The basis was simple. They would be doing normal rescue in an off-campus facility, the USJ. While a team of 2 would be looking for people to rescue, there would be one person, another student, trying to attack them to stop them from rescuing people. This was equal parts combat training and rescue training. Stain wanted to do this training now because he knew in this modern age most disasters are caused by villains and not by natural causes as much. Then they were given their hero costumes and were told to meet the teacher outside. Izuku's costume would be a bit different to not being inspired by All Might. He would still have a homemade suit from his mother, but it wouldn't have the 2 hair-like protrusions on the mask, and the rebreather wouldn't have the smile design on it. As Izuku got the costume on, headed outside, he would be stopped by One For All. Where's the costume I got you? He asked this because he had gotten one of the support companies he owns to create a costume that perfectly fitted Izuku's overflow quirk. Why would he be wearing an inferior makeshift one? Izuku explained how he wanted to wear his mother's makeshift costume just once since she made it for him. Then he promised to only wear his proper costume after this training. Shigaraki's costume would be a black tactical jumpsuit with gray fingerless gloves and a skull mask that vaguely resembles One For All's mask. On the bus, Izuku and Shigaraki would sit together and just talk for the most of it, but 2 things felt off to Izuku. One, Bakugo was getting teased by the other students on the bus for having anger issues. Since he hasn't fought Izuku yet and let out his anger, he was yelling even louder and threatening everyone. Sure, he saw Bakugo threaten a lot of people, but he's never seen anyone start to tease him or even fight back. 2. Todoroki was sitting at the very back on his own texting someone. Something didn't feel right to Izuku about him, especially after what he saw in his notebook. When the class got to USJ, they were greeted by a voice calling out to Stain and One For All. Really, don't you think this training could have waited a day or 2? It was Kai Chisaki, otherwise known as the rescue hero Overhaul, who was walking outside of the USJ. Straight away, Izuku started to fanboy out about Overhaul to Shigaraki and Uraraka, claiming him as one of the best and most powerful heroes. Kai heard this and chuckles a bit before starting to talk to Stain and One For All. He thought they should wait a day or 2 before jumping into combat rescue training, but Stain tried to reassure him it was for the best. With a sigh of reluctancy, Overhaul told the students to follow him into the USJ. As they were walking in, he started to explain a few things. The different zones in the USJ, and more importantly, how quirks could be very easily used. He could easily just kill and reassemble villains, but chooses to rescue people with it instead. As Izuku entered the USJ, something felt odd to him. It was like the ground was vibrating softly. As the class got to the massive steps down to the plaza area of the USJ, a massive concrete barricade covered the main door to the facility as something goes crashing through the roof. Then a small horde of villains come jumping through the hole made by the object that came through the roof. Almost immediately, two speedster villains going blitzing around the USJ like they were looking for something. They were the Enginian brothers, villains with a moral code. Then the villains Kameo Woods, the Dracoon villain Ryukyu in her dragonness, and the fourth kind rushed at the students, leaving the rest of the villains to do something in the middle of the USJ. Jizuki, get that door open while me and Stain handle the villains. One for All yells as he and Stain rush in to stop the villains from getting close to the students. With the students running over to the cement blocker, Overhaul was planning just to destroy it with his quirk, but was stopped by someone yelling,
"You're not going anywhere. Why? 'Cause I am here."
A voice calls out. It turns out the thing that they thought was an object that crashed into the USJ dome was actually a person. The person leaped from the main area to the concrete barricade with one massive jump while calling out to Overhaul. The man wore a black and red uniform with a flowing cape. He also had a twisted smile on his face. Overhaul began to slowly take off his gloves from behind his back as he tried to distract the villains with small talk.
"So, what's your deal?"
The man starts to laugh before explaining,
"Ha ha, what? Did that murderer one for all never tell you about me?"
But before either of them could say any more, Bakugo jumps at the man and unleashes a powerful explosion at him, covering the man in smoke. But from the smoke, an arm grabs Bakugo and slams him into the ground with full force. Then, the man pulls one of his fists back and prepares to mutter the words "Detroit Smash." But before the man could say the words and punch Bakugo, a passageway opens up under Bakugo, which he falls into. It reseals itself almost immediately to stop the man from getting at Bakugo. The man looks up to see Overhaul with his hands on the ground, and he seems to be incredibly angry. Then the ground below the man explodes into particles before reassembling into spikes. Then, while laughing, the man leaped into the air while yelling,
"Ha ha ha, now Todoroki!"
Frozen by shock, Overhaul just stood there while thinking he knew that was the name of a student. "Yes sir, All Might," Todoroki yells out as he creates a glacier that covers Overhaul, trapping him in ice. Panicked, Izuku started to punch the ground on instinct to build up pain, but before he could build up any usable pain, Todoroki uses his left side to engulf him in flames, but Izuku is pulled back by Soji. As Izuku got to his feet, he and a few other students asked why Todoroki was working with the villains. He took a few seconds to answer, staring blankly at Izuku before saying, "It's nothing personal, I'm just merely a tool for the League of Villains." Then, while switching sides, Todoroki goes to freeze Izuku and Soji, but doesn't notice someone creeping behind him. Shigaraki got behind him and puts his hand on his right shoulder, decaying the ice part of his costume. Then he puts both his hands on his temperature harness before ripping it off and decaying it. Todoroki turns around but is hooked in the jaw by Shigaraki, sending him to the ground.
"It takes you a couple of seconds to switch between sides, and you can't use them at the same time. Furthermore, your special awareness is terrible."
Shigaraki mutters while putting his foot onto Todoroki's back to keep him on the ground while asking for someone to help him restrain him. But Bakugo comes breaking through the ground near them while demanding an explanation. The blast that broke through the ground pushes Shigaraki off Todoroki, letting him get up and keep fighting his former classmates. Back with Overhaul and All Might, he was still frozen in the massive glacier, with All Might going to inspect it. But as All Might gets close, the ice begins to shake violently before exploding and then reforming into Overhaul's body with a bit of ground, turning him into an abomination of ice and rock.
"I won't let you touch another student,"
he roars in his monstrous voice as he charges at All Might. The two start trading powerful blows with one another, catching the attention of One for All down in the main area. He had quickly defeated Fourth Kind by using his shock absorption to stop the force of his punches, and then fired that force back at him, sending him into Ryukyu, knocking both of them out. Then continuing the fight between the Abomination Overhaul and All Might forces the fighting students back to the main plaza where the villains were from the destruction it was causing, letting the other villains aid Todoroki. But as the fight went on, a black and gray fluid started to cover Overhaul as All Might started to gain an upper hand on him. One for All had used his warping quirk to trade places with Overhaul so he could help the students while he would face his rival, All Might. One for All asked what he was laughing at as he prepares to use some of his stronger quirks. All Might explained how he found it funny how he was about to brutally kill One for All in front of his students, just like how he killed Nana in front of him all that time ago. One for All pleads with All Might, saying it was an accident and she was a suicidal maniac, but All Might refuses to listen and lunged at him with his fist pulled back. Acting quickly, One for All swatted him away with a black energy covering his hand.
Let me guess, some sort of dark matter quirk mixed with some energy armor quirk. What poor souls did you rip those from?
All Might roars as he gets sent flying to one of the rescue zones but quickly jumps back to One for All. One for All and All Might go back and forth for a bit before One for All's body gets close to giving out to all the strength from using so many quirks at once. He drops to one knee while putting one hand over his heart. He could feel his body and mind giving up. Using so many quirks affected his mind as well. If he used too much, he would lose his mind and become a mindless beast. He called it Nomo Syndrome. All Might stood triumphantly over One for All, ready to smite down his opponent with his final move. But as he took a step closer to One for All, the ground around him began to crumble and decay as Izuku blasted him. Shigaraki was kneeling near the top of the stairs as he sent his decay over to where All Might was. His costume was ripped up and half of his skull mask was gone. Izuku's costume was even worse. The legs and arms of the suit were both gone due to his quirk blowing them off when he used it. Then while Izuku was above All Might, he put his stored energy into both his arms and unleashed it while clapping, sending massive shockwaves at All Might, sending him through the crumbling ground. As Izuku landed, he and Shigaraki both rushed over to One for All to help him.
While that was rather impressive, you kids need to get out of here. The move probably didn't even faze him.
One for All mutters as he stands back up and pushes both of them behind him.
He's right, but do you want to see what I can do?
All Might exclaims as he jumps out of the hole in the floor and pulls his fist back before unleashing a powerful Detroit smash that creates a massive airwave, sending Izuku and Shigaraki off the stairs. One for All was barely able to withstand the airwave. Then he started to put everything he had into one fist, making his right arm gigantic with black energy tools spurting from random parts from it. Then All Might prepared his final move, pulling his fist back one last time and charging it with every bit of All for One he had within him. Then they both lunged at each other. One for All's fist getting inches away from All Might's before All Might rolls under the punch, uppercuts One for All while exclaiming,
"League of Villains Smash!"
The punch destroyed the front of One for All's mask while also sending him flying up to the roof. As he smacked off the roof of the USJ, he fell onto the stairs and rolls down to where Izuku and Shigaraki were. All Might went to the edge of the stairs and started to gloat about his victory, yelling out,
"The rest of you should be cowering in fear now. Why? Because I have just defeated the #1 hero."
Izuku and Shigaraki didn't care for what else he was saying. They went to their teacher's side to see if they could do anything instead. But One for All just grabbed his student's hands, not touching Shigaraki's fingers of course, and started to speak. They were shocked by his messed up face, but that didn't matter to them.
Tomo, Tenko, the way you were able to decay only in a certain area, it shows me how you don't need my help anymore. I couldn't be more proud.
Shigaraki just stared in disbelief and at a loss of words, but Izuku was confused about him calling Tomura Tenko instead.
And you, Izuku, I told you I picked the perfect quirk for you, didn't I? I just wish I could be here to see what you will do with it in the future.
Izuku began to cry as he felt One for All's grip weaken and didn't notice a strange faint red energy pass through One for All's hand and into his. All Might kept gloating over his victory until he heard a massive explosion behind him as the concrete barricade that blocked the door was destroyed and the teachers of UA coming crashing in. Almost immediately, they jumped into action with twice yelling out,
"Sad man's parade!"
Then he spawned thousands of clones around All Might, still with a sadistic smile. All Might calls out,
"Angenium Brothers, now!"
Then a series of large-scale explosions go off throughout the USJ. Thank you all for watching the video to the end. Now there's a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to let you all know that we have a merch store. Some of the items in it are only available for a limited amount of time, so if you're interested, go into the description and check it out. Each purchase helps us make more content. On behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank the writer for this video, as well as the editor for this video. Their details will be in the description. If you're a voice actor, editor, or writer, or you're interested in becoming one of those, go into the Discord that is in the description of this video and hit up the head of one of those areas. We're always looking for members to join us. That's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're interested, and hit that like button if you liked the video. Until next time, peace out mortals, have an amazing day.